Hello, and welcome to the Watch That podcast. This is Brandon McRoy, your host. Excited to be here with you in season 2. We are rounding out this season, man. We've got some great people that have been on thus far. And again, we have just another extraordinary father that's here with us. So I will let you do your introductions and tell us a little bit about yourself and walk us through it, Sherome.
Hey, well, first I want to say thank you, Brandon, for allowing me to join this podcast. You've been doing an amazing job. Appreciate I've been watching what you've been doing. My name, as you said, is Sherome Hathaway, born and raised Columbus, Ohio, native, and, East Side of town, got CCS schools, but I was a Reynoldsburg graduate.
Okay.
So currently I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Epic Youth, which was formerly ICE Mentors, an organization that I founded alongside my wife, Erin Hathaway, and we founded it 12 years ago.
Okay.
So, that's me.
Awesome. No, I mean, you guys are doing some phenomenal things in the city and definitely helping a lot of young folks that need it. So
thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about like what you all do, what got formerly ICE, started, what got Epic started, and how did you get going?
Yeah, absolutely. So the cool thing is that we both grew up in church together. Actually, I met my wife in church. We were kids. Okay. The real story is she had a crush on me when she was 12.
Okay.
So she always told people she liked me since she was 12. And so I am great friends with her brother. So her brother is now my brother, right? You know what I mean? So it's never that thing where you're like checking out your friend's sister. You know what I mean?
Right.
But she also had that dynamic when you were young, when I was growing up, that she was like 3 years. I had a 2-year rule. That third year, I was like, nah, it's just not going to make that happen.
Yeah.
But then the tables turn, be honest with you. So when she got older in life and college and things changed, and, she was definitely a commodity and well-liked and, but not liking me,
Oh, really?
And I had a strong liking for her as I graduated school. And so I think that's the best way for it to happen, though, too.
Okay.
Because I'm really a believer in men doing the work, at least doing the chasing, at least for appreciation's sake. You know what I mean?
Fair.
So I'm giving you a small version of that, but I do believe that we appreciate more what we have to work for.
Absolutely.
And so that ended up happening, and, she fell in love with me. So I kind of made this request to her. I said, you know what? And I was so confident in this aspect of where I was in life that I told her, I said, hey, listen, if God told me you the one for me, I don't care who you with. I don't care where you are. I'm coming for you.
Oh.
And she didn't tell me initially that got her, but like 3 months later, after we started talking and dating, she was like, when you said this, she said that had me.
Wow.
I was like, okay.
There you go. Just go ahead and speak it, and I'm coming for you, baby.
I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming.
I love it. I love it. So that relationship rolled into the starting of Epic, or?
Absolutely. So clearly I left that part out.
No, you're good. You're
good. So we actually grew up in church doing ministry together. So when we came out of a traditional apostolic church, I always had a passion for youth. So I taught Sunday school. Okay. And so as we got married young, 23, 26. So I said, okay, we would do this together. And so we actually led those right underneath us. And they actually had a strong appeal to that because we were also like just right above them.
Okay.
So that was a passion doing that. We also did, junior church teaching. One of the cool things, though, is that one of my pastors gave me an opportunity to do local community events that was for the church.
Okay.
And so we did basketball tournaments and football tournaments. And, he was just say, hey, Sherome, you have a gifting here. I'll trust you in this area. Just, here's the money. Just do what you do. Yeah. And we would put on a flyer and do tournaments. We did one tournament that my friend I have another friend who's now on my board member, Josh, and he just did his digital graphic design work as well as web developer. That's his main thing. Yeah. We put the flyer out, had an online registration, and next thing you know, I had 80 guys sitting in the chapel for a football tournament for a $700 cash prize. Wow. And these boys came ready to play. And they weren't kids. This was like young, like high school and young, early young adults.
Oh, wow.
And it was this huge success. It was like, okay, we did football, let's do basketball. Then I had an idea to do a young men's lock-in where, okay, we would minister to them, right, feed them, and then we would play ball all night. We made a partnership with the rec center.
Okay.
And he said, okay, I'll open the doors for you, play ball all night, and did that. So simple enough, getting back to your question, my wife had a similar passion for girls.
Okay.
And she did a slumber party just for a few girls and just wanted to teach them character, different things, but just painted their nails and, you know, just kind of just showed them how to be a lady type things, right? And they would just really appreciate it. And so that fire was lit from us from just starting in ministry because it was like, that's just what we knew, right? But we also saw there were gaps. So I can feed you into understanding, you know, a relationship with God. But what's happening in the business world?
Right.
Or how are you connecting that back? How does Sunday meet Monday?
Right.
And how does that meet the conversation with my friends and the relationships that I want to have? And how does that meet going to get educated in college? And, you know, how does that make me to be the person that I was going to once be in my life that we all, you know, strive for?
Yeah.
And so we felt like that was an opportunity for us. And so here we are today.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. An amazing journey and that calling. I mean, it's one that is a big deal especially in today's society, right?
Yeah.
Like having folks that step out and say, hey, we care about our community.
Absolutely.
And we want to make sure that, you know, there's a chance for people that maybe get slipped through the cracks or maybe get forgotten because of their circumstances and situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, I just want to say thank you for the work that y'all are doing because that's amazing. That is amazing.
Thank you.
In that, I also know just because of, you know, our kind of connections and passings, this was pretty recent that you've like fully flipped over to this full time, right?
Yes.
Like you stepped out of the corporate world.
Yeah.
To dive into this space. How was that transition?
It's a surreal thing, man. It's just it's scary. It's exciting. It's a lot of feelings, right? But I'm in my going into my fourth year.
Okay.
A full time, 100% on an organization that just started with a dream. Just started us drafting some stuff out, right? And so I'm full time in that, and grateful for 9 employees. With 7 of them being full time.
That's awesome.
You know, including myself and my wife, and so. It's a hard feeling. It's just don't know what to do. You know, it starts off in the beginning very small, very project like. You know, you don't even know what to charge. You don't even know if you charge. You know, we're a nonprofit, so does that mean you don't make any money? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I remember I was doing programs and it was like, this lady said, this should be free, right? I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? So I think so. And then I'm like, okay, how am I going to get there every day? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was been a huge learning curve. And obviously, as we grew and, you know, had a family, you know, some things it goes in waves, ebbs and flows, right? And so I said, okay, I got to jump over here as a dad to make money, to make sure we can survive, right? Then, and as a husband, and I gotta, you know, we just gotta figure out where to navigate those areas. Yeah. And so thankfully, you know, through all of those waves, and then me making those transitions where, you know, my wife worked full time, but then she jumped first. Okay. Years before I did. So, cause that's how we had to transition it. Get our first grant, right? To get stuff going.
That's true. Yeah.
To be able to do what we're doing now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. When you look at kind of that full transition and working through it, what do you think the impact was on your kids? And just like, how did they take that transition for of the family, right? Because mom's working full time. Now she's done, but she's working for herself. Dad's still working full time and helping out. Yeah. Like, how did that impact, and what example did you feel like they got from that?
It was hard, man. I would tell you, there was a part where that we just almost didn't do it anymore. Like this wasn't going to work out. I would say when I felt stolen from the moment of having my daughter was my first child. She's 8. Yeah. And I feel like I stole a big moment from her and my wife, because when my wife, and number one, dads need training. Yeah. Let's just keep it 100, right? Okay. But nobody told me like how to be available for my wife in that moment when she's pregnant with my child. Right. So that day in the hospital, I didn't think I was going to go here, but You know, my mind was, give you context, I was working in a full-time, I had just left a job to start my insurance business.
Okay.
Started off really good. I was making, good money, but nobody told me about the snowball effect when the leads dry up or when those chargebacks hit, right? And if anybody knows about sales in that aspect. And so when I say I stole a moment from them, and I still can't apologize for it this day, I wasn't present. I was there in the room, but not there.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to care for, my wife. Didn't know how to, hold the hand and be sentimental. Because, man, you're just thinking about money, right? If you really care about your family, you're like, man, how are we going to survive? How are we going to, make this stuff work? Obviously, the business was founded.
Right.
You know what I mean? At that time. But, I wasn't in that full time. That wasn't my job. So my main thing was like, okay, let me do what I know how to do to get this. So that was a challenge, man. So I can't get that time back.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously I gave context to those moments of me not being physically there, but not being mentally in the room.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal with men, right? We're worried about, are we going to survive? I think many men don't even commit to marry because we like, hey, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thought that I don't think we hear too much today. But so yeah, it was hard. That was with my daughter. When I got to my son, things were different.
Okay.
I had made some changes in my career. I started, and before I did the insurance where I was working at full time, I had a job that I was only making like 30 something a year.
Okay.
Right. Being married. And I knew that the only way for me, my brother told me, I guess I'm all over the place, but my brother told me, he said, Sherome, the job's only going to pay you, between 3 and 5% increases a year. He said, so if you're not going to go find you a new job, he said, if they're not elevating you in 2 years, or you're not getting a promotion, he said, it's time for you to find another job.
Yeah.
Brother told me that like 10, 12 years ago. I was like, dang, I didn't think about that. But then this guy I met handed me a book on sales. And I was like, okay, let me see what this is. He said, yeah, this is a top earning career in the world. And so that's when I just jumped into doing the insurance thing.
Okay. But
so my point is that skill set taught me how to do some other things, right? And so I was able to get into different careers. So leaving that, I was doing business sales.
Okay.
Changed my trajectory of my income. I'd like literally quadruple what I could make in a year from just me reading this book and learning the skill of sales.
Absolutely.
So by your question, by the time I had my son, things were a little bit different. I had a career that was able to at least take care of it. However, taking care of 2 people, right? And having a child is another thing.
Right.
So things got better. However, to get to the point where we wanted to grow the business now, I had to make some choices. Okay. And so this is where, as a dad, you're weighing the risk and the reward. And I said, okay, I got things to a decent spot, but I'm not making enough to make any kind of jump or make sure that my wife can do this full time, any of that.
Right.
Had a little bit of savings left. And then so here's where the risk was. I had about $15K. Okay. I said, I'm going to take this $15K and I'm going to spread it off of 3 months. And I'm going to invest that in a childcare. Because you get to the point where you recognize in business, sometimes you need money, other times you need time.
Fair.
I needed time. We needed time. It was because when we had my son, it was the time my wife needed to be able to do the business. So when I took that money, invested in the childcare, not knowing what would happen, we were to secure a grant that was like worthy of an annual salary.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
It was worth the jump.
Yeah.
And so the next thing is, okay, let's build some funders around that, maybe some potential sponsors. How can we get some contracts? And here we are all the way up to the point where just 3 years ago, right, where I can come on and do the same thing with 9 people later, 2 part-time.
That's awesome. I mean, that was a walkthrough of a lot of good stuff, though. That's the side of life I think we miss a lot of times, specific to, like you said, to men. We're always processing what's the next step. Where do I have to go? And when you add in that fatherhood label, how do I ensure that I'm doing everything that needs to be done to sustain life, right? And to make it as best possible during this period of time. And you can miss a lot of things. You can miss important moments. Just like you said, you're physically there.
Yeah.
But man, I'm thinking about like everything I need to do to try to get to that next step, or try to make sure that when they get home, right? Yeah. There's a home for them to come home to. Yeah. There's food in the refrigerator. There's lights. There's electricity. There's phone. There's, milk or whatever formula that might be needed. You're thinking through all these things. Looking back on that today for the young father that's watching this right now and is maybe having that same space of like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to kind of dive into that thing. What is one thing that you would share with them that you would have done differently, or that you would just say, hey, this is what I would suggest you do?
Man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. Well, I'll start with this because it's easy for me, because I'm a man of faith. I would say that has to be your solid principle. Like, you have to have a strong root sense of belief system that's going to be able to fuel you and wire you. My other thing is, for these young risk takers, I don't believe in people just jumping out right away, right? I believe you need to go to work. I believe you need to learn a system. Mm-hmm. I think you need to see, when you go to work, I tell the teens that I mentor now, you work at McDonald's, but you need to figure out what makes McDonald's work. Right. Right. Like, how have they systematized their food, their organization, like the line where the food rolls down the line, mm-hmm. like the cashier process, like how have they figured it out? When I worked at McDonald's, my first job, besides cutting grass, they were thrilled on drive-through times. Mm-hmm. They was like, we need to get these people out in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And my McDonald's was the number one in the city because they were so focused on that, on drive-through times. Yeah. Obviously, that's not happening today.
I was going to say, we might need to send a few people back.
I could train them now. So I believe that you have to be able to go to work to figure out what's working there, mm-hmm. not just take it for a job. Yeah. What makes them successful? You got to figure that part out. Yeah. That way, you take that knowledge in with you mm-hmm. when you go into your next entrepreneurial journey. You need to figure out, when you work for a boss, what did you like about him? Yeah. And what did you hate about him or her? Yeah. Right? And why? Right? What made them successful? Mm-hmm. And ask all those type of questions. So for the young person who's looking at starting a new journey, or the young dad who has that, I do think that you have to maintain one vehicle, right? So I couldn't start the next vehicle till the first vehicle ran. I can't buy a second vehicle unless that I could just, your play vehicle, imagine I want a play vehicle, right? But if my first vehicle is not working any good, mm-hmm. how can I get a play vehicle? That's it. And so sometimes we just want to go cold turkey. And being a dad, mm-hmm. no, you got to secure some things. Right. So I need to make sure these wheels work. Right. Right. So that means that I got to take a back seat. Maybe I'm not splurging. Maybe I'm living a little bit below my means. Maybe I'm figuring out how to just balance my life to a certain space. And then you're gonna have to do that 5 to 9 grind just for a little bit, right? You're gonna have to do that weekend grind to figure some stuff out. Because one thing that I know as a dad, my family can't go without eating. Mm-hmm. I'm just not gonna let it happen. Right. I'm not saying about the extra stuff. That would be nice. And I'm still trying to figure some things out, right? Right. But they're not gonna go without eating. Right. Not why I have skills. Mm-hmm. Even when you have that 2 vehicles, I always know I could go back to another. Yeah. I can always do that. And so I think that people need to understand it's a process. Mm-hmm. It's not a sprint. This is definitely a marathon, right? But you're going to have to make sure that one thing is secure before you go into the next thing. But you have to learn everything you need to know while you're doing that first thing. That's
a really, really good call out. I think there's so many different things that you said there that immediately come to mind. I think about, a lot of people, especially in today's social media day and age, right? They dog out having a 9-to-5 job. Oh man, you working for this, you working for that, and you're in this space. But I think you pull a great point that even if you're working that 9-to-5 job, you need to be figuring out the system, because
Absolutely.
the 9-to-5 job started from somebody jumping out there, right? Like, it doesn't just happen. Somebody had to figure out a problem and then say, I want to put a solution to that problem. But that problem came from some type of experience in life.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. That's awesome to hear you say. But another point that you called out that I think is really key is make sure the first car is running before you try to get the second one.
Absolutely.
Like I can think of so many situations, even myself, if we've been 100% honest, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, man, I can see myself doing this thing. I can see myself being very successful at that. And I want to do it. And I'm investing everything that I have into that thing.
Yeah.
But the reality is when you're a father, you got to make sure everything's working on that first car. You can't just dive into the toy, right?
That's right.
Because the reality is, if we bring in 100, the toy is probably going to be more expensive than the first car in the first place. You know, like the things you're trying to invest in this entrepreneurial spirit, in this entrepreneurial space, it's going to take more time, and it's going to take more figuring it out and brain power. And if you don't have the basics down, then what does it look like now that you're trying to juggle fatherhood? You're trying to juggle making sure that everything is where it needs to be for your family, and this project or this entrepreneurial spirit. So those are key things, man. I appreciate you just sharing that reality of where things are. Now, looking at your daughter and your son today, how do they vision and see mom and dad working together? Because obviously you said, you missed a couple of moments that were important. How do those moments missed now translate into the success that you all have had over the last few years?
Man, it's a blessing, man. And it's amazing. I used to work a job in that transitional period to get to where we are now, where, again, I wasn't present. Having my newborn son, obviously I got to the point where I was there, right? But I got to a point where I was working very hard throughout the day, right? Matter of fact, my work started, and I'm answering your question this way, before I got to work. And then I used to get my work done after work. And then you'll hear some people say that's the nature of being a person who's high up in a company or who works a premier role, that you just work after work because in the day you're tending to people. I do see some of those similarities a little bit now, but I wasn't, man. I would get home 7 o'clock, a little bit after, right, and have to do some work. But man, I would sit there, my wife would make dinner, and it was just like, I wasn't even at the table.
Wow.
She was like, hey, are you here? I'm gonna have a full conversation. What you say? Like, just because I'm still carrying the weight of everything that was going on. I'm like, and you know what? When I made a decision that this journey wasn't going to fit me anymore. And I started working my exit plan and figuring out how I was going to live my life and what I was going to do next. And the thing about when someone's in a cycle of so much stress, if you only knew that if you would just literally change positions, like the problem's usually over. And I never thought about that. So when I got to a point where I made that decision and then I had the exit that I did, I was like, the next day, I was like, oh, all those things I was worried about, I'm not worried about anymore. Even if I didn't know where the next one was going to be, the next opportunity was, or even what it was going to be like, it was gone. Man, that was the most refreshing feeling. But part of that other thing where I said about you needing to learn the system of a job before you do your own thing, that taught me about the kind of culture that I wanted to have for myself. So if I think about my organization, we do have some night programs every now and then. We do have some weekend programs, but they're sparingly. They may be monthly, maybe bi-monthly, but we have them. But we work 9:30 to 3:30. I don't want to be there super early in the morning. And I don't want to be there late at night. 9:30 to 3:30. My culture is built on production, right? If you need to be micromanaged, I can't work with you. You know what I mean? But if you do what you need to do, I don't care when you do it. Just, you know what I mean? So we're good. So in terms of your response to your question, what am I doing with my time? I never had that 3. I can't believe it. Sometimes I'm eating dinner with my fam at 4 o'clock.
Wow.
4 o'clock, I'm sitting at the table. On average, it's between at 4 and 4:30 or 5. We're all together.
That's awesome.
Being able to go outside with my kids and play for a little bit, or play an activity, or do something, or just chill.
Yeah.
Never seen that before. Now, do I finish everything? No. Maybe I go back at 7, maybe 8.
Yeah.
Right. But at 10 o'clock, it's a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a conversation with my wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe 9:30, right? So it's dialogue there. Watching a favorite show, I digress, right? And whatever the other pleasures that come with being a dad.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
But that's my life now. I take my kids to school. I get the opportunity to take my kids to school. I get to.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah.
That's just a blessing. Yeah. So that I'm enjoying that. That has been helpful. Hopefully I've answered.
Yeah, no, that does. I mean, it runs down the benefits of hard work. Because at the end of the day, you had some fail points. I'll call it that. You had some fail points that you're like, hey,
that's it.
This is where I was at. But now you have positioned yourself where those fail points have turned into successes on the other end of what you really wanted to invest in.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, because of the skill set and what I've learned now and what the desires that I have, I'm going to always build my life to fit around family.
Yeah.
Like I used to think that, and I'll be honest, even my first days when we went to church and early ministry, it was like, you kind of work for God. Like you just kind of work, man. I'm like, then I got an idea, a revelation, and I was like, that's not what his intent was. I'm called to my family first, right? We always say about, man, if Adam would have just took care of Eve, she may not have ate that fruit.
We wouldn't have been here.
Right? Maybe we would have had cancer, right? Whatever else we got. Right. Why am I tilling this ground so hard? Now we would have worked, but I might have flicked it. Who knows, man? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, family is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your first assignment, right?
Yeah.
So I know too much now.
Yeah.
Even if I do another gig or a hustle, it's going to still work around my family life. Yeah. My mind has been conditioned to say, I'm going to look for opportunities in this framework.
Right.
That's where I'm at now.
That's it.
And I probably will never return.
That's it. And I think one of the underlying themes that I continue to hear is prepare yourself for what you want next.
That's right.
Don't put yourself in a box where I can only achieve or I can only do because this was my experience, but truly take your experience and make that work for what you are actually trying to achieve and what you're actually trying to get to. No, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. When you look at your kids today, do they do any sports or any activities that they're involved in?
Absolutely. My daughter once participated in competitive cheer. Okay. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Other than when I see him at the convention center walking out, that's about as much as I know.
Yeah. That's what the life is like. A lot of convention centers. So that is, it was a great opportunity to watch her do that. Really? That's actually something that's dear to her heart. She loves it. We're not doing that currently. We shifted to dance. I want to give them multiple exposure to other things. Okay. I'm hoping to open her up into fall sports coming up in the fall, maybe soccer. Nice. I think that she needs to have a little bit of finesse that comes with dance, but also have that athletic ability that makes her well-versed. She actually already has a natural athletic ability, so I want her to learn from. I tell her stuff all the time, but just from the coaches, so she can kind of like get that. She don't got that competitiveness in her yet, though. You know what I mean? That I just want it, right? Yeah. And so I want her to learn those skills. Okay. So yeah, my daughter has done everything from summer track, which she's going to do that again this year. She does dance currently. She's in competitive cheer and gymnastics. Okay. And so now I think we're going to continue the cycle of being active throughout the year. And that's a sacrifice. Okay. It's a big sacrifice. Yeah. Cost, right? But it's time. But I think it's something I want to do. My son, surprisingly, he just wants to play golf. Really? At 5, he just wants to play golf. My father-in-law is a really huge golfer. Okay. I mean, he will sneak away to play golf anytime that he can. Yeah. He's taken my son to do it a few times. My son already has his own clubs. Wow. And that's his thing. So I want to allow him to play golf, but I'm still going to do the well-rounded thing with him. Okay. Probably he's old enough to do a summer track now. Okay. And then he did try basketball in the winter. Okay. And he liked that a lot. Nice. And so I try to box things in. I'm a compartmentalized person. So I try to okay, let's do this every year, all year. Yeah, right? You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going to happen. But But yeah, I think I really that's been a part of our journey right now.
That's
sports
awesome.
for sure, and it's fun.
That's awesome. All right, now here's the question that I always love to ask.
Yeah.
Are you the quiet parent that's on the sidelines, kind of cheering along in your head? Or are you the one that's like real vocal and just kind of out there? They all know it's you, or what's your style?
It's a good question. I'm probably in between.
Okay.
Right. I'm probably in between. I think that I do have some of those passions inside of me, but I will figure it out as we get there. I think once I see that they're like leaning in and this is their thing, and they're like, okay, I'm probably gonna be that dad. I'm gonna be the vocal one. I'm definitely not gonna be nodding my head. I'm gonna do everything it takes to get them to where they want to go. I'm already thinking about how can I get college for free.
Okay. Hey, listen.
So any way possible, academics, whatever else. That's what I'm thinking about.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, no, I'm always interested to see everybody's level. I'm in between. It depends on what sport we're watching, I think. My wife told me I'm not allowed to go watch any competitive basketball because I'm too loud, and I'm always, going. So it's kind of interesting. My daughter played a little basketball, didn't go out that well. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Soccer's her thing now. So
hey, soccer's a good sport.
It's cool. It's cool. So when you think about your life as a father today, if you were to think back to maybe a piece of advice that was given to you either pre-dad or, maybe you just had your little one, is there any advice that kind of sticks with you and it's really guided you through your time?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's hard being a dad because I can't speak for everybody, but I have a dad, and my dad is really good, right? He's good to me. He's a good friend, good, he's funny, he's enjoyable. Unfortunate piece, my dad wasn't in my home, right? And so I never grew up at that young phase of my life with both having my parents, my birth dad in the same household. I was born out of wedlock. Okay. I was a passion baby, right? Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. We had some fun, and you came along for the ride, right? However, I had two very loving parents, right? And so my household structure was I ended up, by the time I got 9 years old, having my stepdad. Okay. By the time I was 3, I had a stepmother. Okay. Right. And so I had 4 parents most of my life. My parents who raised me, my stepdad and my mom, are now passed. Okay. So I lost them both. Okay. And so when you look at what the dynamics of how to be a dad, how it has to be trained, right? Sure. And so I took a little bit from everybody. Some aspects it was a blessing, right? So I knew how to be that encourager, that friend that my dad always has been, right? And then my stepdad I wasn't really always his son, right? So, but my stepdad was really great at being disciplined, and he showed me a lot of things, right? So I took a little bit from everybody in those aspects of life. But I will say the biggest impact I've had was my father-in-law in terms of what my role is, his advice. Okay. He said, and he was actually my Sunday school teacher growing up, right? Wow. And so watching me grow up and to marry his daughter was probably a big deal, right? But he always would tell us, he said, hey, man, you're the preacher, you're the protector, you're the provider of your home. And those 3 Ps, right? That just has always stuck with me. Right. Now I'm not going to get into the gender roles or the 50-50 and, everybody has their new things now and all that. Right. And so I get it. We both work. Right. But that and understanding my position and that, if this ship is going to run, right? If this boat takes off, it's going to be because I make it. Yeah. Right. That's the role that I was taught to have. Awesome. Right. If my kids get any kind of guidance about how to show up in life, how to show up in different places, that's my role. Right. What I love about as you mature, I feel like my role is I'm a door opener for my kids. Yeah. Whether I could do that financially through a legacy or through massive resources or because I built a wealth of contacts and relationships, the ability to make a phone call and say, people always hate on LeBron. They hated on LeBron when Bronny got in here. He still has a main report hater. Right? You know what I mean?
True. That's true.
But it's just like, but the the ability for you to be a dad and to say, man, I can make a phone call and make a way for my kid.
Yeah.
Man, that means something to me.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm living for.
Absolutely.
So those 3 P's mean a lot to me.
Absolutely. No, that's very impactful. And I have to agree with you. If you can open a door for your child, whichever way that it's necessary for them to achieve the dream or to be able to see the dream, right? Yeah. See the opportunity, is a accomplishment in my world, at least, that I want to make sure is there, Yeah,
for sure.
But I can appreciate, taking a little bit from everybody and really using that to the best of your ability. So kudos to you, man. I mean, because you took all of that and you're making a beautiful family into beautiful citizens into space that they'll take with them. Hey, this is what my dad did. This is how my dad took on this challenge, and things weren't perfect. Yeah. He wasn't perfect, but he acknowledged it and he showed me how I should do it differently.
Absolutely.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
What is one thing that for you would like somebody, if a father's watching this today, what do you think is something you want them to take with them? What's something that you say, I want you to take this. If nothing else from this conversation, this is what I want you to take.
I would say that you as a dad, you were lacking nothing. In a world where, and if you're a Black dad, you're still lacking nothing. A world where it's hard, right, to be successful. There is so much working against you, right? Not only are you fighting the ability to be a successful dad or African-American dad and trying to get job and opportunities and advance yourself in your career, limited roles, but also you're fighting the standards of now what we have with media. And let's even consider the bigger one now is social media, right? I still want to encourage that man to say you're still lacking nothing. And the reason why I want to say that is because when God has blessed somebody to have a kid and to be able to have that child, that's a blessing. There's so many people who don't get a chance to have kids.
That's true.
Never even found love, don't even have the ability to have the passion. And then if you think about it, even we are rare because we're so many of several seeds that have taken life as a growing embryo, right? From just a science standpoint. So it's intentional that you were here. You were meant for every moment as a man. You were meant for you to be that father of that child. You were meant to be that. Yeah. Right. That was it's not a right from law standpoint. That's a God-given right. Yeah. Right. You are the seed producer. Nobody else can do that but you. Yeah. Right. You produce that seed. True. So that shows me that God cares about us as dads. And if we understand the importance of our seed, the importance of the seeds we carry, and the importance of that God allowed me to have this kid was an intentional thing, man, that means that he cares about my success. He cares about my opportunity. He cares about, my growth and my role with this child, with these individuals. And so we're not lacking anything. The world wants us to think that we're lacked. We just need to get more in tune with our Creator, get more in tune with understanding the role that my physics even plays, right? The strength that I get from just being a man, right? That I have bigger muscles, I have a bigger structure, right? I have a bigger opportunity. Like the way that we think, right? It's just different. Yeah, that's intentionality. Yeah. So I want these dads to be in tune with themselves, right? And to be able to figure out how to fall in love with themselves and know that they have what it takes to be able to be successful and raise this child.
It's in there.
It's in there.
It's in there. You may have to tap into it a little bit. You may have to wake it up. You may have to have a conversation to move forward with it and all, but it's in there.
It's in there for sure.
Yeah.
It's in there for sure.
Nah, I appreciate that. Well, listen, man, I thank you for coming on the show and being here with us.
Thank you for the opportunity, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
it's good to have you. Good to have you.
Thank you.
For those that are watching, listen, I appreciate you for going through this journey with us here on the Wash Dads podcast. This is an opportunity for you to know you're not alone. There's somebody else out there that's had an experience similar. There's somebody out there that's going through something that maybe you aren't there yet, but you're going to go through. And you can have a little conversation, a little piece to go with that. So continue to watch, continue to, give us your comments, your thoughts, and things that we can be better and grow stronger for you as a community here on this podcast. And until next time, check you later.